Hey, Tom Miller here. Let's get right into chapter 3 of Todd Whitaker's book, What Great Principles Do Differently. And I love this chapter because it has so many great metaphors in it, and self-awareness is so important, and school leaders have to develop a great self-awareness. If you don't see it coming, right? If you don't see it coming, if you're getting blindsided by two by fours, you have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, what role do I have in this problem? When I say see it coming, I mean, the complaints from parents, the complaints from your staff, that either go to your board or that come around you, right? It's important for school leaders to build their self-awareness through many strategies, and one just being inquisitive with your best people and asking them, how am I doing, right? Taking on feedback, putting yourself out there. 360 surveys, open it up. You got to have thick skin, and you got to pay attention, because behind every little complaint there's a little bit of honesty, right? So I love he gives the is your door open, right? A lot of leaders say they have an open door policy. Yeah, come in any time, but only really when it's convenient for me, right? So it's always important. I have an open door policy unless you got a complaint. If you got a complaint, you gotta go somewhere else, right? So so again, what role do I have in a problem? John Maxwell talks about in his 15 laws of growth, the law of the mirror, taking a look at yourself, surrounding yourself with individuals who are not just yes men, that will take the time to tell you and give you constructive feedback based upon your meetings, your faculty meetings, the way you're handling certain situations, the way you make decisions. You have to be looking for feedback all the time. So more and more, building your self-awareness, and a couple of tools that we use as coaches. One is the DISC personality profile that most of you who came to our face-to-face session got to take your DISC profile. So there's a great first step, right? Learning how we are wired, and how we're wired impacts how we lead and how we communicate and how we listen to other people. Very, very important, right? So building your self-awareness through tools, internal surveys, right? And getting that information. When I was a school leader, I was the leader that Todd described in a book about changing schedules on the fly and changing initiatives on the fly. And in most charter schools that we have a chance to work with that are struggling in one sense or another, typically academically, it's usually because there's a lack of clarity and a lack of consistency in regards to the programs that they use to achieve success, right? They buy programs, but they don't necessarily train the people behind them. We've already talked about what's more important, people or programs. Or they're just changing things constantly, right? They just got new initiatives going. Whatever the last article that they read is what the faculty meeting was about. Now, I was guilty of that every single time, and I'm still guilty of that in the business that I run. So my 2017 goal is one word: focus, right? Focus on what's most important. And it wasn't until we had that focus when I was a principal, and our one word was relationships, that everything started to work out. So Todd talks about being the ice cream man, right? Be the ice cream truck. We all remember the ice cream truck, and kids would spend 10 times the amount of the value of the actual ice cream just when they heard that sound. It was like Pavlov's dogs when they came around. So how can you be the ice cream truck as the school leader? Right? You got to learn to go first. You got to learn who you can talk to, who you can ask questions, who's going to give you that feedback that you have to have in order to be a better leader. Right? So great connectors, think about all the great connectors in your life. They go first, and they ask questions about you. How are you doing? How's this last initiative impacting your classroom? What is maybe impeding? What are the barriers that you foresee? What are some of the things I didn't think about? I remember as a principal getting ready for faculty meetings, I had my whole staff listed out by name. And I would write, how am I going to address their question? What questions is she going to ask me? And what information do I have in here to make sure I can steer her towards it? Because I had to be prepared. I had to be prepared for how other people think. And it wasn't a nuisance. They weren't challenging me. They needed better understanding from me because I was not a good communicator. Right? I wasn't being the ice cream truck like I had to be. So, a few challenges for you for this from this chapter. One, take a look at your initiatives. How many initiatives do you have going right now? Remember this. 1 goal is a goal, 2 goals are half a goal, and 3 goals aren't any goals at all. So, how many things do you got rolling? I remember working with a school last year. They had a school improvement plan that was 17 pages long, and I was like, who's going to monitor all this? Just pick that one thing. What's that one thing that's going to take you to the next level, right? It's that one thing on your wheel of success that's going to take the school to the next step. Just focus on that one thing first. All right, that's your challenge number 1. Challenge number 2 is, who are you going to ask questions about your leadership? Right? Don't just ask the same people that are going to give you yes answers, right? Ask them feedback on your faculty meetings. Ask them how they can improve. Make sure that you're asking people, hey, what do you think? You should not be doing the most amount of talking during meetings as the leader. You should be asking other people their thoughts and their opinions. Because if you have to come up with all the thoughts and the ideas in your organization is only going to be as good as your leadership leader. Remember, we've talked about that. So you got to surround yourself with smarter people than you. And you got to ask them questions and create a safe environment for them to be able to talk about it. Right? And then do your closing close the communication wheel. Get back to them 3 days later and say, hey, how do you feel about that decision? What are some of the things that we may have missed? Do we need to go back and relook at things? All right, so those are your 2 challenges from this chapter. 1, how many initiatives do you have going? Stop changing them around, all right? It's March 15th. Just hold on to your initiatives for the rest of the year and just get tangible evidences towards their success and tweak it. Just tweak it just a little bit. Don't change it completely. And number 2 is, who is your inner circle? Who are you going to get feedback on your ability as a leader? And do you have an evaluation in place? If you don't have an evaluation in place, you've got to have something where you can get feedback on you. And we've got some great 360 assessments. So go ahead and reach out, and we would love to help you get that feedback that you need to take your leadership to the next level. Thanks again. Hope this added value to you. Looking forward to talk to you more in Chapter 4.